Welcome to Opinion Journal. I'm Mary Kissel. A Senate committee released a report on the 9/11 terror attacks in Benghazi, and it's got some new information about, well, who should be held responsible. I've got Foundation for Defense of Democracy senior fellow Tom Joscelyn joining me. Tom, I want to read you a quote from this report, and I quote, "The majority believes the terrorist attacks against U.S. personnel at the temporary mission facility in the annex in Benghazi, Libya, on September 11th and 12th, 2012, were likely preventable based on the known security shortfalls on the U.S. mission and the significant strategic, although not tactical, warnings from the intelligence community about the deteriorating security situation in Libya." Tom, it sounds to me like fingers are being pointed here at the State Department and the CIA and others for not coordinating. Is that right?
Well, I think that is right. I think there are obvious failures here in terms of the security surrounding the facilities in Benghazi was adequate. And it's clear from this report and other reports that it was known that the threat stream was sort of increasing throughout the entire time leading up to the attack.
Okay, but no one has been held accountable as yet, correct, Tom?
That's right. In fact, I think the State Department has held nobody accountable. Under Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, I believe some of the officials that were initially fingered as being responsible, I think were eventually reinstated. I don't think anybody has really been held accountable for this intelligence failure and also security failure in Benghazi.
Under Secretary of State Patrick Kennedy is one of those names that was in this report. Tom, is it correct to say, however, that this report continues to talk about the situation prior to the attack and tells us very little about what President Obama and then Secretary of State Clinton were doing during the attack, why they didn't send help?
Well, I think that's right. There's still a lot we don't know about what the principals were doing on the night of the attack, and there's still very little we know about how they shaped the storyline or narrative following the attack. A lot of those details are not really in the report.
There was a New York Times story, front page, said Al-Qaeda was not involved. This report says at least 4 Al-Qaeda groups or men affiliated with those groups were involved. What's your take?
It's clear that the New York Times report is fatally flawed. In fact, it's got so many errors that it's obviously not authoritative or exhaustive reporting.
There's also a question here about whether special forces could have been sent in to help in time. The majority report here says no. Is that accurate, or is there still really a debate over that issue?
You know, I don't really know. I mean, you get different interpretations of what could have or could not have been done. So, to be honest, I don't really know the answer at this point.
There's another question about why the U.S. has not arrested or detained any of the people responsible for this attack that not only killed Ambassador Stevens, but 3 other Americans. The Republican minority raises questions about this. Tom, how is it that the press can get to these guys and we can't?
Well, a lot of it has to do with we're treating this as a law enforcement matter, and in fact, basically we're dependent upon foreign governments who don't really have a lot of incentives to cooperate with us, or don't really have their own incentives to cooperate in their own security against these groups, basically to hold these guys accountable. And since we're outsourcing that to these foreign governments, basically no one's been held accountable.
Okay. Well, there was also Republican finger pointing at Joint Chiefs of Staff General Martin Dempsey, also under scrutiny. Foundation for Defense of Democracy's senior fellow Tom Joscelyn, thank you for joining us.